three elements. There is enterprise, there is AI, and then there is blockchain, right? So I would like to see it as enterprise is the human, right? Is entrepreneur, right? It's the people who try to basically solve problems, right? The AI is good at computing and doing logical tasks automatically and find this type of intelligence in a more efficient way. And the blockchain, there is two sides. There is the immutability transparency, and then there is the smart contracts. Now, when you take those three things and you combine them together, of course, you have a very powerful thing. You have essentially limitless possibilities. So when you take AI and blockchain, by themselves, they can't do anything. You still have to have a human behind to basically say, what is the purpose of this, right? What are the problems that we're trying to solve? So provided we don't go rogue on the AI and blockchain, then you still will have a human that will use those tools in order to, let's say, come up in the Maslow pyramid in order to reach the more, let's say, philosophical or esoteric human values. But you will use those automatic tools in order to enhance all of the, like we said, not necessarily mundane tasks, but increasingly coming up, taking the roles of the bottom of the pyramid. And so I think, as a whole, it's a positive thing for the human being, but essentially there will be a displacement, there will be a disruption, and so the human nature is there to be adapted. So is it going to merge? I don't know, but essentially I think that's really the question marks that one has to basically ask themselves, like, what is the purpose of all of this?
So, real quick before we get to Andre, I just want to expand, just ask real quick. So, if we follow that train of thought, and I think you described it very well, and now we have these like sort of technologies that lead to hyper efficient or hopefully more hyper efficient markets. And by the way, I tend to be more libertarian leaning as well. But although I am curious, is the outcome of, let's say, the enterprise, AI and blockchain, let's say the outcome is sort of much more hyper-efficient markets and better outcomes, but does that lean more towards sort of the individual or the collective in terms of market philosophies?
What is the individual and what is the collective? That's kind of the question. It's like, are we not already just somewhat attached, but we just don't know it yet, right? So from a perspective. But I think a lot of the questions can be answered by looking at the past and by looking at the patterns and the trends. So when you look again to the financial markets and you see the patterns of evolution in the financial market, because they're pretty much the first ones to really evolve, kind of, you see first technological tools being a help indicator for decision-making process for the human being, and increasingly replacing the decision-making process also for the trading, right? So increasingly. So if you look at this pattern of what happened in the financial markets, you apply it to all the other industries, and then you apply it to life, right? So I think that's really like my point, right? Looking at patterns, looking at trends of the past, and extrapolate them from now onto the future. So I think that's where you find the answer.